Happy Monday. Good morning. How's everyone's weekend? If you are anywhere, honestly, inside of the US, maybe you're snowed in right now. We have two of our experts here that are enjoying their foot of snow. So hopefully everyone's safe. This week, we are rounding up January, talking a little bit more about the content side. Every fourth week, I come on, we talk about content or anything that has to do with creation. So if you have your divorce questions, please still ask them in the comments, but we are going to be a little bit more of content creation and ideation this session. All of us are together today. So we have Melissa Gregg, who is our financial mediator and divorce strategist, Emily Flowers, who is our divorce mortgage lending specialist, Kristen Terry, our divorce coach and co-parenting specialist, and myself. I help our members more in the post-divorce phase when they want to launch a side hustle or create anything. As always, Kristen, can you please start us off with the meditation?
Thank you so much, Anna, and welcome to everyone that we have with us. As Anna cues up some nice music, we can make sure that we get into a nice, comfortable position. Make sure your feet are nice and firm on the ground. And let's just shrug those shoulders, ensure your spine is nice and straight. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes. As you close your eyes, I want you to simply arrive in this moment. There's nothing you need to fix. There's nothing you need to figure out in this moment for the next 3 minutes. It's just you, the sound of my voice, and your breath. I'm going to welcome you by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, filling those lungs, and a nice exhale through the mouth. Allowing your shoulders to drop. And again, deep breath in through the nose. Feeling yourself expand. And this time, as you exhale, release with a little sigh. One more time, deep breath in. Feel the expansion and the fullness. And exhale. Now I want you to allow your body and your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Allow your body to settle into whatever is supporting you, whether that be on a chair or a floor. Just be aware of the space that is supporting you. And notice what it feels like to be here today. Not what you think it should feel, but what's actually present. No labels, no stories, just sensation. As you're checking in with yourself, notice, is there a tightness anywhere? A heaviness? Maybe a tingling or a warm sensation? Just scan through your body and notice what you feel. Is there neutrality maybe? And whatever you notice is welcome. Now I want you to bring your awareness to the center of your chest, the space where breath moves most naturally. As you inhale, I want you to imagine creating a little more space there. As you exhale, allow anything unnecessary to soften. Just notice that pattern. A little more space with each inhale, and a little more softening with each exhale. No need to push anything away. Just let things be exactly as they are. Now silently ask yourself, what feels true for me right now? What feels true in this moment? Not what's expected, not what's logical, just what's true. You don't need an answer in words. Might come as a feeling, an image, or just a quiet knowing. Nothing forced, nothing performed, just an inner alignment where who you are on the inside and how you show up on the outside. We're just tapping into our breath and bringing awareness to here, to now, and the truth of how we really feel. If it feels right for you, place a hand on your heart or on your belly. A simple reminder that you are allowed to be real, steady, and grounded exactly as you are. Allow that thought to settle in. You are allowed to be real, steady, and grounded exactly as you are. As we start shifting our awareness back into the space that we take up, you can start by gently wiggling your toes and your fingers, maybe welcoming some movement somewhere back in your body. A nice final deep breath in, a little hug for yourself. And whenever you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. And I hope you all enjoyed that little meditation before we go into the session of aligning our truth, our outer expression, healing, helping you. Divorce allies, we're here to do it all, guide you through it all.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pass it back to Anna and let's get started.
Yeah, so usually we kind of start with maybe what's going on in our world, our industry, any of that. But today, to kind of go a little bit along with my topic, I wanted to ask all the gals on screen and everyone watching, if you didn't have to work another day in your life, the money is abundant, you got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million just in your checking, and you're not going through a big divorce case either right now, how would you spend your days? Think about creative projects. Would you be drawing all day? Would you be doing yoga all day? Would you be painting? Would you just be writing? You can also kind of like divvy it up. Don't think you have to do one activity per day, but would you kind of structure your day if you had nothing else you had to worry about? Think a little bit on it. I have my answer, but Kristen, have I given you enough time to think?
Yeah, I don't know if this is cliche, but I would probably be doing the soup kitchens. And I think my passion, orphanages, I would give my time back. Like I get a lot from that. So I'd probably start my day the same way I do now. I'm living a morning routine that I absolutely love. So it would be getting the kiddos to school, go get some endorphins, whether it be a run, a workout. It's how I start my day. But if I didn't have to work, it would probably be um yeah, offering service ship to where I don't have to. I'd like to still keep busy. So yeah, I would say that would be my one.
Love it. Emily, what about you?
Um, I'd love to say that mine is as service oriented as that. But I'm a little more selfish in my older age where I've already given to, I feel like, everyone. And it's my turn. So, and most of you know, most of the people on screen know that I travel a lot now that we are empty nesters. So I would continue to do that. And we are very active travelers. So, I mean, if there's something to see, we want to see it. So we are like nonstop from dawn till, forever. So I want to see the world. I want to see the world. I want to experience things. And maybe, just maybe, vlog about it. But that would take a lot for me to do because I don't do that now. And we've been talking about this. Like, we really should, because I think we do things just a little bit differently. So,
hey, what do we always say?
Can I add that to mine as well? Can I like do both? Because I'm like, hold on. Actually, maybe I didn't have enough time to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it has like fitness and food and like all those things involved in it. It's just wrapped into a different setting.
I hear you.
Love it.
What about you, Melissa?
Well, you guys know that I'm going to say something completely different,
yes.
But so it's interesting because I feel like how you create the most abundance is when you are actually giving your services and giving your knowledge out, and that will create this abundance. I believe that money is energy and is flow. And so in my mind, I, would probably still be doing something that creates the abundance and the flow by giving back. I do have a couple big dreams, which is doing these divorce retreats around the world where we would combine travel and sisterhood and, coming together, and we would be doing, body work and energy work and spiritual work, but we would also, get all these things done that would make an efficient divorce process, and we would be looking at our future selves. So I think that I have some ideas of how to do that, but at the end of the day, creating a consistent flow, I think, and I always did think that we could just have enough money in the bank and we'd never have to do anything. When I started doing more energy work, I started realizing that really to have exponential wealth is to have it be flowing in and out. So, and not just holding on to it, but like, how do you consume it in a way that creates fun and excitement for yourself and for others and giving back? So I think it would combine what everybody has sort of said in some capacity, but I would be still, creating videos in some capacity. I would still be, creating new businesses. I would love to have so much wealth that I would invest in other women's businesses and give them the tools and the full, that's what we're trying to create, is like, what is the full strategy so that you could be doing all these things. Like, I will just tell you, over the weekend, our products sold. People were booking meetings with me online. They were buying the downloads. Like, every day this weekend when we were stuck in the snow, we sold products, and I wasn't actively doing things, but it was flowing. And so in my mind, like, if you want to have the private jet and all that, that's great. Like, I want an RV down by the lake with a pontoon, but like, you do you, right? But it would be because there's flow coming in, because my energy is pushing out stuff that I know, and it's flowing back to me. And that, I think, is the energetic loop that we can kind of talk about. And Anna, how about you? What would you be doing?
Well, it's a cop out if I say everyone's answers combined, huh? No, but I really think it's like, I love travel. I would want to do that. I'd want to, gosh, I don't know. It's like, I thought I knew my answer, and then hearing everyone else's, I'm like, yeah, but that sounds good too. So I would love to be able to travel and see the places and really like charge my creative battery, but then get back to routine, because if I was just left to do whatever every day, I think I would like crash out mentally wise. Like I need a routine, I need purpose, I need to be able to like communicate with people. So I really think I would still probably be doing this work every day for at least a few hours, but without the pressure of like invoicing and paychecks. But yeah, I also love the concept of volunteering. I think maybe that could be more of my like connection in the community. But I just think it's the reason I asked that question is because a lot of the times when we talk about content creation or creating these products, like how Melissa had money flowing through the weekend because she has kind of aligned what she loves doing with products she has created. And that's what all of us on screen are attempting to do, as well as why we keep pushing this upon you guys of start with what your interests and where it flows and where your passion lies, because then you can just have the money coming in at an abundant rate, and then you can do whatever you want. But in order to get there, we kind of have to do a little self check-in, a little self-alignment check-in, because I'm guilty of like going off to the races. I forget why I'm even actually doing something in the first place. And then I reach burnout really, really quickly. So this is something that, okay, we're just going to get into it. Of course, any questions along the way, please put them in the comments, even if it's not related to this at all. Don't think that this is just me speaking at you guys. Okay. So, you know me, I'm a big marketing branding gal. So I created these with my best friend AI. It's kind of like a self-branding check-in, but to talk about your flow, where you find your energy, and just kind of like taking a step back. So, everyone watching, if you have a pen and paper or your phone, everyone on screen, if you want to do this, do or don't. Also, all of these slides will be in the roll-up at the end of the week. So, if this is too fast now, go ahead and go back and do these at the end of the week. So, first kind of statement or question. When I feel most aligned while creating, I feel, you can do adjectives, even you could like paint a little picture of what that feels like. If you're not good with words, you can doodle. You're feeling excited? Are you feeling optimistic? I don't want to put words in your mouth, so just think on it. When I feel most aligned while creating, I feel. Okay, the next one. My creative energy naturally moves toward. Maybe this is a specific type of medium you can think of. Maybe it's just in general something. Maybe it's just another feeling. Thank you, Melissa, for putting these in, because I might use these for the next step. Next one. When I'm aligned, my work tends to, and again, your work. So in this instant, maybe work is literally your daily job. Maybe it's a creative project you're working on. Maybe you could even frame this towards all the work you're doing for your divorce right now. Your work is up to you, what you want that to be. Next, if my aligned self had a symbol or metaphor, it would be XYZ. And this one's a little tricky. I know you've probably never thought of your aligned self in a symbolic or picture way, but get creative. It's a private situation unless you're Melissa, and I'm going to use all of her answers. And lastly, one quality I want my creations to quietly communicate without explaining is, so something that you don't have to forcefully be like, this is what I make. You should know it just from looking at it. It's just what it is. It's the essence. What is that? All right. So if you have all these answers either typed out or written down, keep them, because the next slide, because of course we do everything with AI in this group. So I had AI help me create a prompt that could kind of help you take these words and actually create it into some type of symbol or logo. Because I've been reading a lot how we always say to put affirmations around the room, on your mirror, and it's really good to subconsciously read all those words all the time. But in addition, sometimes our brain looks at symbols and pictures and, takes it in a little bit different way. So maybe this logo or symbol that you create, you could put as your wallpaper on your phone, on your laptop, maybe even start making like a journal with this logo on the front cover, something that kind of helps you get back into that aligned flow when you go to create, to help you kind of subconsciously little bit snap into it. So another little, I'm going to switch tabs here. So Melissa, I'm going to have you read. I'm going to copy and paste this, but I'm going to paste it into Gemini Nano Banana because they create a lot better pictures. So give me a second to pull that up.
Awesome. Well, and I think that this is an interesting way of looking, because I think when people start to create something, your perfectionism gets involved, and you're like, okay, I want to create the perfect symbol and the perfect product and the perfect new business. And you're in the stage of flux. Like if you're in the middle of a divorce, if you're in the middle of transition, like the person that you are right now is not necessarily the person you're going to be in 6 months, right? And so just embodying these symbols or this symbolic logo or visual, I think is awesome, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be like how it symbolizes you right now, like strong, like I would say, let's talk about your future. Like I want to be strong and empowered in the divorce process. I want to be, knowledgeable and calm. I want to get rid of some of those high emotions and triggering things. To me, it gets you more focused on how you want to show up. And again, everybody who could be listening be like, what does this have to do with divorce? Well, and it's because at the end of the day, mediation is storytelling, right? Leverage is the numbers telling the story so that you're not emotionally telling the story. Your position statement is your opening comment. It's your like when you go to trial, when you go to mediation, when you go and present your offer, it's your opening statement. And so the more you get clearer on who you are, how you want to show up in the world, much less, in a future marketing endeavor or a business, it will get you more centered in what you're doing. And so, like I know a lot of other divorce professionals try to work you into a box of like, work on this and then work on that. You need to have these two parallel universes happening where you're focused on your divorce. And I'm sure people who are in it right now could talk to it, but it gets overwhelming. Like you can't stay in that energy every single day. This is the way to flip over to your other side of your brain and say, you know what? I'm going to think about the future. I'm going to think about these positive things that empower me, not just what is the past and, oh my gosh, this is so hard and nasty and we're letting go, You will then be able to kind of get rid of some of that old story and move into the new story. Did that give you enough time, Anna?
Yes, it did. And okay, this is my constant comment with AI image creation. Melissa, this isn't great, but you can always go in and tweak it. So I'm just going to say, can you make it a little bit more feminine and abstract? And you just keep asking it things you want. If you want to tweak it, have it be pink, purple, cartoon style, maybe it more realistic. This is just a starter prompt to kind of get you started. I mean, it's a little cheesy, let's put it that way. And I'm surprised they even spelled the words right, because usually on AI, the letters are all mixed up. But again, this is just like a starter piece. This is because it's being a little bit too literal with the sunglasses emoji, chess piece, and anchor. It kind of took that too literal. But so, again,
Anna,
this is...
Tell us this, are you in ChatGPT? Because it is a little bit small, but...
Yes. Yeah. So when I create images, I go to Gemini Nano Banana because they are creating images just a little bit better than ChatGPT. It's a little bit more realistic, I guess, and accurate, where I feel like ChatGPT images are still like, if you would get this, you might get sunglasses like potentially upside down or confidence misspelled, and this is still the free version of just Nano Banana. So I can
and
just
Canva also, we've
Mhm.
had a lot of good experience with Canva being a little bit more like if you already have a Canva version, you can
Mhm.
also create. But I think that it's helpful as an example
Yeah.
that it is not like you're not going to enter this into AI and have like the best logo that shows up. Like this
Mhm.
is a process. And then a lot of times, even when we've built it in Canva, or we came up with ideas or
Mhm.
generation in AI and Canva, we still have to recreate the logo into where we can play around with it,
Yeah.
right? So this is just a starter of like symbols for being strong, like kind of affirmation symbols as
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you could also spend the next 5 hours trying to perfect it, but that's on
Correct.
your time. We don't have that amount of time here. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's just a great way because I feel like I've kind of lost my just what am I creating for and needing kind of like some just symbols and anchors. Thank you for putting that word in the chat to like go back to. Like, am I just creating to just mass produce or am I creating to help women move forward? It's like always trying to kind of go back to your inner and making sure that your inner is aligned to then start creating externally. So I'm going to switch back here. And then if we're actually talking about this is where I'm going to add all of you ladies on screen to enter the conversation. But okay, so let's say you've kind of done the inner work, you feel aligned of what you want to create. Maybe you're really going towards content creation on video. Maybe you want to write a book of poems. Maybe you want to illustrate children's cartoons, whatever it might be. Then we start feeling this kind of like burning rush of like, I got to do all of it now. And I got to create that book because I'm feeling passionate about it. La, 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 la. Well, again, this is kind of a little bit where burnout happens. So you have to make sure that you're keeping that inner alignment to the alignment within creation itself. So I got to show you this book because I've talked about it several times. And of course, I don't have it right with me. This book, Feel Good Productivity, is like kind of my little personal Bible right now. I just flip open because it's one of those books where it's like every 5 pages is a new chapter or a new something. And this is one of his ideas. So on the left-hand side, it's all of your like big time goals. And on the right-hand side, it's your energy investment of the day. So, okay, I want to batch create for 6 months. Great. If I do that in one day, it's going to be, you can do it. It's just a little bit too much. So maybe the energy investment I'm taking per day, recording 20 minutes per day. If maybe I want to be more active on social media, let's open one platform and optimize that. If I want to have a full brand kit with my fonts, my logo, my colors, all of that done, well, maybe today let's define the target market before we kind of get into the whole brand kit, right? Or if I want, this is a good one. Everyone's like, well, I want my website launched. Okay, well, maybe today let's just like with a pencil draft that landing page on what that's going to look like. So it's kind of just when we're getting into just alignment in general, and when it comes to alignment with any type of content creation, we need to start thinking long-term goals and your energy investment today. So I wanted to ask Melissa, Kristen, and Emily, in your fields, what do you feel like people in divorce are trying to rush towards this big goal, but in the daily or the weekly, what are the things that they should actually just be focusing on?
Yeah, and I'll kind of start it off so everybody can think a little bit. But with one of our clients, the story was very important, and there's a story of trauma, there's a story of abuse, there's a story of manipulation, gaslighting, all of these things. And in order to get her to release some of that story, it was to create the story. Now, we didn't start with a book. We started with 10 chapters, 10 small stories that she could start writing that would then eventually you could piece them together. So it was like one chapter a week. And that one chapter would just be a vignette, right? Did you have to start at the beginning? No. You just like one really powerful story in your history that defined who you were and how you had come to be. And she started to realize that the story started writing itself, right? So because there was no rubric, because there was no path, I didn't have to start at the beginning. I didn't have to start when I was born. You know, the stories were really more in her 20s or 30s that kind of started it. You know, like you can always go back and and rearrange the chapters, right? But it was just like, you know, and she was like, well, what goes into a chapter? And I was like, well, I mean, in general, any guide could be 10 concepts, 10 things that you're thinking of, you know. So in any of these phases, you know, like what's 10 pieces of content that you're thinking, or 10 different, you know, ways of doing things. You just, you know, it's almost like like if you like vision boards, if you like journaling, like whatever modality, you know, they're all permission slips. Like I love Bashar. He says everything is permission slips. So like none of it's right or wrong. It's how do you create that feels good to just, you know, like when we're in divorce, we're going to use our logical brain all the time. How do we flip over to the creative side? Even if this never goes anywhere, you're balancing your inner self, because you have to have an outlet, you know, like again, kickboxing and punching, like that's also going to be a good one. But this is the creative outlet. So what is a 10 chapter something? And how do you just start with one vignette, one story, and it's in Word? Like she didn't start creating it in Canva or creating it in you know, some other journal book. It's just Word. It's just dictating it into a voice memo. You know, like you're on the elliptical machine and you're like, what am I going to do on here? Okay, tell a story about what happened in the past. Tell the story about maybe the trauma or the pain in order to let it go eventually, right? Now you've memorialized it. You know, I talk a lot, like eventually I'm going to have a website on heroic prose, okay? And it's a play on prose because prose is one, but heroic prose is historically how women and individuals have transferred stories in verbal ways, right? How do we tell stories around the campfire? Well, how do you get this story out so that it is no longer a pivotal piece of your history, but you know, like she plans on giving this book to her children so that they know some of their history. She's very intuitive, and there's some background in her culture that lend towards that. You know, she wants to tell stories of her elders as well as, and she was like, well, how do I put it all in one book? Who cares? You don't worry about that. You just are like, these are really amazing stories that I would love for my children. Like maybe the domestic violence or the trauma isn't the story that goes to the public. That's just the way that you're letting it out so that you don't replay the story over and over and over again to remember it. You kind of let it out. So that's one way. And I'm very passionate about the storytelling side of it, because as you tell the story, you let it out so that maybe in mediation or in trial or in deposition, when you speak about that story, it's going to be a very concise way to talk about it. You're not going to seem emotional and dysregulated. You're going to be like, let me explain to you what the patterns have been in the past and how they have enunciated that I should get more money, assets, and things now. Like that's where I kind of take this forward.
Yeah. Before I hand it off to Emily and Kristen, you mentioned something too that I just wanted to throw in is like the person you're speaking about when she was first getting into this, it's probably like, okay, where do I even start? Am I doing this all at once? Am I opening Canva and having a Word document and having my transcription thing out? And then you do it once or twice, and then you have your own personal process. Doing the first two is probably the hardest thing you're going to do because it is just a whole collage or a puzzle, and you have to figure out which piece goes first. You can't just put them all at the same time. So when I'm making downloadables or when I'm making content for someone, I have a full process now because the process is the same, the situation's different. So it's just do it once or twice, get in the rhythm of it, and I promise it'll kind of just fall into place. But Kristen, I guess to kind of get back to the question, when your clients or people that you see are coming to you for parenting plans per se, what's like one aligned action they can take daily as opposed to trying to complete the whole thing at once?
I will definitely get to that, but I wanted to mention something on Melissa's back end, that letting go. I think there's an art to letting go, and there's actually a book, The Art of Letting Go. And it's really such a key point in that storytelling, as Melissa mentioned. As women, we need to repeat it, because the more you say it as well to your best friend, your mom, or telling the story, whether it be into chat, the more you hear yourself and you soundboard, and you're going to start, as Melissa says, it filters out all the emotional stuff that gets said. But there is a wonderful book by Rania Naeem called The Art of Letting Go. And I think it's such a, what I witness with my clients is it's an incredibly difficult thing to learn, letting go of that past life, the past vision, the past of, and letting go of the hurt and the pain. So, but on a parenting plan aspect, one thing I would say is start writing down your current situation. What is currently your kid's life? And that's the best way to start. What currently works, what currently is, who does pick up the kids? You know your children's routines the best. And if you start voice noting that into ChatGPT or whichever AI you want, start writing down what is your structure. And then from that, you could start going to, okay, what could we shift? What cannot change, and what can change, and how can we change it? But you can't move forward unless you actually write it down on, okay, what is the current scenario? Okay, well, on Tuesday, I have this meeting. So far, while we've been married, Tuesdays, my ex-spouse has fetched the kids. But if we're separated, how am I going to work that? But get clear on what your current scenario is so that you can start, once you've got it down in paper, then you can start playing with ideas in your mind and seeing how it could work going forward.
Great. Emily, what about you?
I guess we'll focus on the house. I also have some ideas on like health and fitness that way too, but
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
like the house. Okay. So I'm never going to stop with the, hey, pull your credit. Hey, maybe get a title search done. Hey, maybe hire an inspector, or if you know a contractor, come out and go through your house. Do you love it? If you were to keep it, what would you change about it? How much does that cost? What's your budget? Do you know how much your utilities are? Do you know how much it costs to maintain the house plus the people that live in it? What is affordable to you? There's lots of things that you can do when it comes to the home. So this year I was setting goals, and I have them separated right into different categories of my life. Well, my house is 20 years old, so that flooring needs to be replaced, and the registers for the hot and cold air are rusting. Just stupid stuff that's super cheap, but it's also like things that I can replace easily and it would make me happy for some unknown reason, whatever it is. So just lots of things, like the valances on the blinds that have fallen off. I just need new plastic pieces to put them back up. Stupid stuff. But you have control over these things, like looking through your house and being like, I've always wanted to replace that fan. I've always wanted to blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And then get that budget together. What does that look like? How much do those things cost? Those types of things. That's basically what, the house, dreaming of the perfect scenario. Now, If this house isn't the house, what does the house look like? What does the apartment look like if you were to start over and do it, do it differently? How would you allocate funds from the sale of your home, and blah blah blah. So there's lots of dream work you can do with a house. I mean, people build dream houses every day, so you can build your own dream house in any scenario. On the fitness and health side, there are lots of ways to be creative in that, and there's lots of ways to translate that into making money for yourself too. My son just got married to a Japanese woman who is a Pilates instructor and is coming here next year and is not sure how to, how she's going to work. And I'm like, girl, bring like Japan, like Japanese Pilates techniques to American studios, or create your own program online or whatever. People will eat that up. And she is the epitome of that person. And so you can do that on the health and fitness side as well. When I stayed at home all those years and I was a trainer, I made healthy meals for busy families. I froze them and sold them. And I had a little community that ordered from me every week. And so I had to put together little budgets, and I had to, make all the ingredients come together and hopefully have some of the same ones so I could, save money and then be able to make more. There's lots of little things that you can do in that regard as well. So,
Melissa, did you have anything on like the finance strategy world that you wanted to hit on?
I mean, I think that this is the cardinal theme about everything that we're doing, is like, if you're moving all of these pieces, the major priorities forward in smaller bite size, either weekly or daily, then it's not going to be as overwhelming. All of these processes are overwhelming if we just look at them in totality of what needs to be done. And so that's why we've created guides that kind of help you just take it step by step. And when you reach that overwhelm for that day, you just stop. It's enough for that day. Like a lot of times when we're repeating these same horrific stories that have happened to us in the divorce situation, especially if it's a toxic person, we're repeating them so that we don't forget. We're repeating them because we have lists of other things that we have to worry about. And we don't want to forget when we get our chance in court, when we get our day in court, our day in mediation, our day in whatever. And what I want you to encourage you is to have a reality check of that day may never come. If we do really well in getting you settled, and you create a position statement and you create a settlement offer, and you don't get your day in court, right? Or if you let the numbers speak for yourself, you're not going to have that release of that, like, look at what he did to me. Look at what she did. Like, you're not going to have that big performance happen. And so you have to say, okay, how is this going to help me heal? And I'm going to heal if I start to envision a reality without the house that we've always lived in. If I envision a reality of how do we co-parent without having to talk to each other all the time, right? How do I have a financial future that does not involve alimony or child support because I get paid up front with it, and we don't have to do this every month thing where he's paying me or she's paying me and I'm having to wait for it. Like, how do we start to control our own reality in creating a vision that would actually be more in line with our future selves? And when Anna's talking about creating, or Emily's talking about, creating, like, literally you could have an online Pilates program where people are just coming online at a certain time, and you're creating community. Anna talked about it. Like, I would still want to talk with people. Well, then how do you create the community that you need? How do you create the resources that you need? And how do you shift from all of this stuff that happened to me to how am I going to create a new reality, right? And so it is a mental shift. It is a physical shift. And it is getting that story out so that you preserve it, because you are never, I have somebody right now that I'm like, hey, write down all the things that it has taken you to get out of this dumpster fire, right? Because you will never remember how bad it was. You will never remember the pain that you are going in, as loud as it is right now, in the future as you heal, right? And even I talked to somebody about, like, the narcissist was like playing games and doing all this stuff and pitting their kids against them. And I was like, get some of this out so that you have a log, or you have a cat, like, you understand what happened so that you can result back to it. But at the end of the day, stop engaging. Like, stop, like, literally a narcissist is doing that to just see you wound up, and then you explain and over explain and correct them. They do not care. They are not listening. They are not normal humans, right? You are talking to a brick wall. You are convincing a brick wall, and they are just triggering you to see you amp up and react. So the more you take out of that situation the stories that you need, and then focus on your health, your new future, your story, you will get out of that historically toxic roller coaster that has adrenaline attached to it. Like, oh, you got me riled up, like, it is a normal baseline life is not as exciting as the going back and forth in the roller coaster. Like, it's going to be like, well, this is boring. Well, maybe you then are looking at all of these other ways that you're creating imagination. Imagination creates the energy of manifestation. Manifestation is you being that energy, you exhibiting actions that move you into that space. So if your actions are constantly being triggered and tossed around by this individual, right? You're creating the energy that, universe, keep on doing this to me, because obviously I like it. Obviously I'm engaging in it. As opposed to, you start to focus on these other things, the universe is going to send you more of that. Oh, you want to make meals for people. Let me send some people that want that. Oh, you want to create stories. Well, maybe you could edit other people's stories. Maybe you could read, maybe you have a beautiful voice and you could read stories for, like, online books. Like, maybe you didn't know how many online options were available, that you don't need to do the 9 to 5, because yes, you need to provide for yourself, right? Oh, I thought that I would get enough maintenance and alimony and child support to support me forever. No, like, the system, if they're highly toxic, they're going to manipulate the system, and that's not going to happen. So I think that, like, sometimes these things seem fluffy, when the reality is we have already been down this path. Kristen has been down this path. We already know that you're going to need to get off of the roller coaster, which means you're going to stand and watch the roller coaster still go around and around for a while, right? You're just not on it. Okay. And you're not engaging in it. And that's a key piece to this, is your own self-preservation.
A key thing that pops into my mind with what you're saying there, Melissa, is it really is a matter of, we all have those two wolves. If you're going to feed the wolf that is bringing the drama and rehashing and living in the past, that wolf is going to make your divorce, it is going to make it incredibly difficult. Now, it may still be difficult, but if you're feeding the wolf that is moving on and letting go of that past and that story that you keep telling, it's really about feeding the wolf, the wolf that grows, the one that you feed. Something like that, right? You guys are picking up what I'm putting down. I think I butchered that completely. But on another note of what Melissa mentioned, is we do see this all the time, and it is it's the hardest thing to go from being married to someone to going cold turkey or putting up walls and not reacting and learning to just distance yourself. That in the beginning is the hardest thing. And I've seen it with clients. They go through that phase of your memory forgets the really, really bad stuff. Even in my most abusive cases of clients, as I work with them, eventually they forget and they're like, yeah, but he's being so nice now. And you start letting your walls down. So that storytelling, your brain has a funny way of suppressing the really ugly, and you start reminiscing on those good times, and then you start questioning yourself, and then doubt starts, and then you let them back in, and it starts a whole cycle of you've allowed them back into your space, and they've got a bit more control, particularly with toxic spouses. So exactly what Melissa said there is a reason to tell the story, there is a reason to get it out, and there is a reason to get that ickiness out. And I've had to go back in my last 5 years once or twice to read what I wrote in the very early days, and I tell you, both times that I went back, I had forgotten what I had written, and I'd forgotten things that were said and done to me just when I was starting to, because it happened again, that something comes into your life and you try and be soft. So writing down all of those hard things will fuel you. And it's not to keep it stuck. It's to give you that fuel that you're on the right path. Remember how bad that was. Don't go back.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and we have some people, that are kind of having some, like questions or are frustrated because I can't think about moving forward. We get that. This is a balancing act, right? We, in the resources that we sent out a journal. This is Anna's example of like a journal that you could create, but it also has a lot of just things to think about, ways to kind of process this. And again, it's a catch-22. The more you think about how you can create money online or in the future, your lawyer's going to come back and say, well, don't start to make money right now because that's going to affect, your alimony and your child support. And again, divorce industry is a very toxic industry. And it is a roller coaster that you will get on, and you will wonder why the hell you got on this roller coaster. But everybody told you to hire an attorney. And so you went and did that. And now you found us and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have done a million things before I did that. I get that. But, somebody had a question of like, how do I get joint funds to secure help and paying for help and divorce? That's a tricky situation because again, if it's joint funds, you have the right to remove those funds at any point. But the moment that you do a big move, you're going to create a waterfall of things that are going to happen. And so this is why we say you're going to plan in the dark. You're going to, get your ducks in a row. Now, at the end of the day, the thing that you can't control is a hyper toxic spouse cutting you off. Okay. So just like you can move all the money in the joint funds account, so can they. And they're not going to play by the rules. And the moment they sniff out that you are doing something, they are going to pounce like no tomorrow. So even understanding are there options of things that you could do? If it means a traditional job, if it means a teaching job, if it means an online situation, like whatever, you have to have plan B waiting in the wings that you can pull the trigger on, regardless about how it affects your divorce case, because your lawyers are going to take months to get you a PDL or a temporary hearing or a temporary order. And they're going to use the money and the kids against you at all times in a toxic situation. I'm going to go after 50-50 with the kids and I'm going to bleed you dry and you're not going to have money. Your credit cards are going to decline at the gas station. You're going to have not enough money to go get groceries. Like they'll still maybe pay the bills, right? You might still be living with the person and they will be doing these daily passive aggressive, really subversive kind of using the kids against you. Assume all of those things are a possibility. So how can you quickly get to a position of understanding how much do I need to live for 6 months? How much do I need to, is hiring the lawyer the best use of $5,000? Or should I download some, like Kristen's got a product that could be like a couple $100 to get a parenting plan together, right? And using ChatGPT. Anna's got a product that can, how do you start in content creation? And it's the whole process. Emily's got one that is like the steps to either selling or taking over the house. How do you start making those moves? And then we have, how did you do the settlement offer? How do you start to do things? And you have, like, this has got to be methodical, which means you don't have hobbies right now. You don't have distractions of watching TV and series and wasting time. Like when your kids go to bed, you go to work. Okay. You collect documents, you put it together. And if you are really concerned about money, you move the funds. And what you would do is you would either go into the bank or you would do it online. You start your own separate account. You transfer as much, like everybody wants to recommend 50% of what's in there. I'm telling you, a joint account, you can move everything. Okay. That's just, now you're going to instigate and you're going to explode your world. So you need plan B for all of these things. But if you move the majority of the funds because they're not enough for you to survive anyway, do you have a credit card that you can also utilize? So you move the funds into a separate account that's in your name. You let them sit. You run things off the credit card. You run things. You may have to borrow money from some outside party. And then if you need to go and get additional funds, this is where you may need to talk to a lawyer to use the system, the court system, to lock down temporary orders or temporary alimony and child support. But you have to understand that that could be a 2-month process. And what are they going to need? They're going to need to know your tax returns. They're going to need to know what income you make, what income they make. They're going to need to know what your expenses are. Like these property statement and income and expenses are the first things for filing. And that's what your attorney is going to charge you to do. So you go do it first. They're going to be the first things of the settlement offer. So those are all of the things that you would start to do. No toxic person is going to come up with a parenting plan that is great, right? They're going to be like, oh, we can just talk about the kid. No, you want to create a system where you have zero communication with this person in the future. It is all done through the agreements that you create. It is all done through the money that is exchanged. And potentially you get a lump sum of alimony so that you're not worrying about this person going forward. But right now, if you're going to transfer funds, you have to realize that's going to be a distribution of your assets to you. So if you go willy-nilly, just spend it all because you're like, well, that's what it costs. No, that's not. There's limited scope attorneys. I do strategy sessions. Everybody in this group does strategy sessions so that you can just get in, like it's smaller payments, it's overtime, like you get very prepared for that strategy session and you come in, like you're not going to go in with Anna and be like, hey, tell me what I should do. No, you're going to go through all of these things in the guides so that when you come into that strategy session, it's just like, I want to use this time wisely. You can be a great part of being efficient. You know, I put out a video today online. Get a journal, get a notes app where you're writing down all the questions you have. Ask those questions to ChatGPT first. Get a basis for it. Go to your state's website, pull down the self-help guide that's going to tell you how you need to file, what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. You know, I talked to a woman this weekend. I was like, have you filed? She's like, no. By an hour into the conversation, she's like, well, when I had them served, and I was like, you had them served, then you filed, right? So understand these pieces. ChatGPT will answer some of the questions. You use the lawyer and the experts to sanity check the question answers that you already got so that you're going into those people and saying like, hey, from my understanding, this is the process to get temporary support. What are your steps? What are your steps to go about it in this court system? You know, what are our steps to, what should I be doing right now to make it be a good outcome, right? What is your settlement strategy so that we can all be aligned on moving that forward? That's you taking a lead in this process. And that's how you'll save money, because even if you move joint funds of $20,000 or $10,000 or $50,000, when you deplete that, that is your money. Like, you have to stop thinking that it's their money, and if I get it, I can just use it. It's your money now, and it's your half of what they're going to say, well, you took some money, so that's yours. So you go and blow it. There may not be. So it's a very different mindset than probably what your attorney or experts are going to tell you, or your friends, or anything. Like, look at it like yours, be frugal like you are in any other capacity, and use strategically the money that moves things forward, right? If you download a guide and you're like, oh, this is too frustrating and confusing, that's where you're pulling in the strategist to help you execute and create an action plan. And you create the actions, and then you touch base with that strategist again.
Yeah, and I love that, because that's the whole point of aligned steps forward, because we're human. It happens. You can waste your time or spend your energy on maybe talking shit on the person that your ex is having an affair with, or going through all those situations of should have been, could have been. Oh my gosh. Well, if we all do that, even if it's with the most minor incident, and you're going through one of the biggest incidents probably of your life. And so we're saying, instead of putting all of that energy into that, create on ChatGPT about answering questions. Another tip I wanted to say, I saw a beautiful TikTok that you can ask AI to design this like bare kitchen or bare living room, that to get you excited about moving into a new house, starting over, and maybe it's a smaller apartment and it's empty. Use AI to help you create these interior designs of what the kids' room are going to look like when you move in. Put your energy onto creation and to moving forward, because everything else is just going to keep you kind of stagnant there. And the last thing of my presentation, just to kind of wrap up, because, okay, hold on, I got to find this thing, because I am little miss structured and routine, like I said. So something to kind of help me again. So we're back on alignment, we're back on track. How can I actually maybe like create a little bit of a schedule or a checklist to make me on track with what I'm doing? So again, these are just, I'll go through these a little bit quickly, because, I want to make sure we're hitting everything. But so some questions to just kind of ask yourself or to consider. When I am most consistent, my energy level is usually blah, blah, blah. I am most likely to follow through when a task is blah, blah, blah. The time of day I naturally show up best, or maybe you can cater this to the time of day when I have no distractions, AKA when the kids are asleep. One thing that consistently throws me off alignment is one aligned action that actually feels doable right now. And I want consistency to help me feel more XYZ. And then, of course, you'll kind of write these down, journal about it, however you feel is fit right now. And then again, another AI prompt that you can use any type of AI you want. I would use ChatGPT, for instance, but just using the information below, create a simple daily or weekly checklist that helps me stay aligned and consistent without burnout. And then you're kind of filling in, again, those answers that you gave previous. And maybe it's not a checklist. Maybe it's a Notion board. Maybe it's a graphic that you can play with however your brain works. And again, I did want to, one of the comments saying like, I just feel so present or frustrated with what's happening now. It's hard for me to see in the future. Well, we've had people go through this process where they felt just like you in the beginning. And now where they're at in the present moment is they are creating so much. They are creating journals, they're creating workbooks, they're creating completely brilliant ideas in their industry. I mean, I know it feels impossible right now, but we're just giving this information because at one point, one day, you're going to wake up and you're going to want to come back to this and start the content creation process. So this was kind of the wrap up of mine. I do have some little tips towards the end I can give, but I don't know if anyone wanted to kind of come in now.
Well, I think that, during this process, we want to distract ourselves from the reality that it's hard and we have to stay focused. So again, it may seem like, why are we talking about content creation and businesses and things like that? Again, we're in the future. Okay. So we're your future self, and we're just telling you what to expect when you get there. Okay. But instead of doing the things that distract, like watching TV or watching movies because you need some downtime for your brain, imagination and manifestation are directly linked. So if you want to sit back and you need some downtime, meditate, be calm your regulatory system, like start to imagine what a new house looks like. Imagine a perfect co-parenting situation. Imagine your new business flowing money into it. Imagine a peaceful resolution to the divorce where you have plenty of money to get started and get forward. If that is what you need for a half an hour every night, you get into the energy of creation, and that will then come to you. And I don't want to I really don't even want to really say that this is fluffy stuff anymore, because part of what I truly believe is that this works. You're still going to do the tactical things that you need to do, to move forward. But at the end of the day, if you don't get into the energy of the future you, the energy of manifestation, the energy of what it's going to be like, you're telling these old stories that are going to keep you in the past. Like, I believe in this so much that every single day I get in the energy of future self, future Melissa. Like, future Melissa, what is she doing? Right? She's not worried about money. She's not worried about where the money's coming in. She's not worried about clients. She's worried about where her next trip is going to be. She's worried about where she's going to be doing that's fun with her kids. Like, she's worried about and focused on the energy of that. And then you let it go. However it shows up, you start to see things as information. And we talked about this a lot. And I talked about this with a client recently. Look at their actions as information. It's not good. It's not bad. Something happens in your divorce today. It's not good. It's not bad. It is a redirection. It is a realignment. It is what you needed to see to do better. The only way that you're going to have a hero story is to go through a little bit of trauma and drama and issues. And then when you appear on the other side, maybe you're going to help other people like you. Maybe you're going to help other women in this situation, because you can't even fathom how bad this bullshit industry has ever been, right? We're telling you already that's what to expect. So how about you focus on what does future you, let future you pull you into that perspective. That's how manifestation works. Like, yes, you can put action items together and checklists and do and do and do. But at the end of the day, if you don't get into the imagination of what the future could look like, you're not going to allow it to happen faster than you could have ever possibly imagined, right? Like, allow it to pull you in and set the standard so that you have some of those things built already, right? Oh, you blow up on social because you were just talking about the issues that you're going through. What is that going to equate to, right? What is that going to gear towards in the future that would make you easy money, right? What if making money was easy? What if living a life of co-parenting was easy, right? What if you envision that that's what it is? The universe is going to swirl around and create it so that you experience that reality that you already believe is possible. And I know that the other women have other things, because this is what we as a group utilize to make things happen. Yes, we talk about tactically, but all of us have other spiritual bases with which we create and which we allow us to be a vessel of creation. I channel a lot of things. I channel right. I allow ideas to just pop into I give out ideas because I'm like, well, if I can plant a seed in other people's head, guess what? More people are trying to create it. Like, when I talk about the retreats and somebody says, count me in, that holds me accountable that I will have retreats. I've already looked at locations. We've already discussed as a group where we would do them. I have clients that are willing to give up their spaces to have it happen. It is a reality in my current life because I already see the future of how it could benefit women. And it would be yoga and walking on the beach, and it would be talking and women community. Like, we're only going to do like 2 hours of the bullshit divorce shit a day, right? The rest of it's going to be like, we're together. Because why? Because when you get divorced, you don't have travel companions. So we're going to create those communities. The more I make that imagination and vision in your brains, the more it becomes reality. So how can you do that in your life of creating this new paradigm? Somebody talked about their farm and helping veterans, right? So it's not about making it happen today. It's about creating the vision and be like, hey, universe, show me how that can happen, right? Give it to me for free. Like, why do we need the money? Like, align me with the right people that are going to give me a place in Oregon free, right? And the house next door is for sale too. Maybe they would lease it out. And I was like, oh shit, oh my God, this might happen faster than I wasn't ready. Oh my, right, because you need to be ready for it to be easier than you could have imagined. And so you lay the foundation for being able to say, you know what? Yes. Okay, let's rent the house next to your house, because we haven't even created the retreat yet, but like, because it will then flow. Why do you think I talk about my RV and my pontoon? Because like, I'm going to have that this summer. So what did I have to do? Well, I started looking up, where would I put my pontoon? Where would I put, not because I have the actual money to do it right now, but the universe will be like, wow, you're really dedicated to this. Why don't we give you some more clients so that you can go get that pontoon, and we're going to give you a deal on it. Oh my God, didn't know you could get a $5,000 pontoon. Guess what? We're going to go ahead and show, if you are open to the possibility, then when it shows up, you'll be like, yes, well, I don't know where to put my pontoon right now. Well, I did look at some spaces. I do know how much it costs. I have called around, like I looked on realtor.com. Should I get an RV or should I get a little house? Like, where would I get it? All of that. You look on realtor.com and you look at your new house. You start to look at co-parenting apps. Like, how can I do this? You start to look at other creators. Well, how can I do this? That all momentum gets you moving forward, even if you don't have the money to do any of it yet, right? You don't need money to do it. You need abundance, and abundance shows up in a lot of different areas, not just money. Community. What about this community? What if other people what if we start talking about what we need and somebody else in the community has it, and we start to trade off what we have? I would trade a ton of stuff if Emily would start cooking meals for me. I'm telling you right now, like, for real, right? Maybe that, like, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
That you can start exchanging.
Well, and something that it relates also whatever, it doesn't matter. I was listening to the Telepathy Tapes, which is my favorite podcast. Second season is all just about other type of psych abilities. And this episode that I listened to last week was specifically about how ideas are their own person, are their own essence, their own being. So when we create, we are just the vessel to birth these ideas. So what it was saying is that, like, a lot of they interview a lot of different authors and people that said, I had the exact same idea, but I wasn't in a place in my life to create. 6 months later, another author created the same exact story, same exact narrative. And it wasn't this feeling of jealousy, because it was an understanding I was not in the place to create that. So the idea had to jump to the next available person. Then literally the next day, because I'm a big Harry Styles fan, I was listening to an interview with Harry Styles, and he was explaining the exact same thing, his writing process. He used to put so many hours in a day, like 12 hours a day, writing, because he felt he had to grind to be able to produce music. Now he says he's being like he's evolved into a new writer, and he realizes He sets his foundation. He has clear head, clear mind, eats healthy, whatever he does. When the idea comes, he's prepared to write it. And if it takes him 2 hours and the idea is gone, he comes back to it whenever it comes. So it was very eye-opening to me that when we do have this, oh, boom, idea, it's literally consciousness or God or whoever you think planting that idea, because that idea wants to be born. So we can either build a foundation that we can properly be the vessels, or we can take a little bit of time to get to that point and struggle and push and, oh, why isn't it coming out perfectly? But it wants to be born, so kind of allow it. And now I'm just seeing in the world of creation in a whole new way, because it is true. Like, how can some of these writers and authors and directors come up with these insane ideas? Because a lot of the times it really isn't theirs. It's like consciousness's idea. I don't know if you guys have heard that at all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've had my personal experience. My business name was like that. Originally, I was called the Divorce Mentors, and it wasn't sitting right. It wasn't sitting right. And I call them my God winks, because I imagine God going, hey, whoop, this one's for you. But I was having a conversation on this topic. I was having a conversation this weekend with people that I'd met, and they were like, what do you do? And how did you come up with this? And the idea of what I do now is I had an idea of what I wanted to achieve in the sense of freedom. I grew up with a single mother that had to work 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Becoming a single mother, I was like, my goal is to support other women through the process where I felt the least support, but to be able to be the mother that I can be a present mother at all the events. And that is my why. I didn't know, I couldn't tell you, I didn't have the idea of where I was going. I knew what I wanted to feel, and I knew what I wanted to achieve. But my journey, I didn't have all the how to get there, how to do this. What was it really going to look like? Because I feel like sometimes manifesting, we don't actually have the vision in our mind yet what it's going to really look like, but we know the feeling we want to feel. And I knew what I wanted to achieve in a feeling sense. And it makes no sense how I started what I did, but at the same time, it makes absolute all the sense. You know, my child development experience of studying child development in Scotland, working with additional needs children and going through divorce as a kid, going through divorce as an adult. I was a yachty. For 7 years, I was a seafarer. So when I came back going through divorce, have a 2-year-old and pregnant, I was like, I don't know what work I can do on land. My work was on the ocean, but now I have kids. What do I do? So for any of our members watching or anyone watching, if you don't have a clue what it is you want to do, I can tell you now I didn't either. But I knew what I wanted to feel. I knew how I wanted to feel. I knew that there was a version of me that was better and bigger, and there was a purpose bigger than me. And as Anna mentioned, those moments, those ideas, when you trust, I'm the woo-woo faith, have that belief and trust in the process. And gracefully untangled, the name came to me on a beautiful walk on the beach. And it was like that pin drop in my mind. And I was like, oh, yes, that is everything I've been feeling. Untangling from children, married with someone, but I always knew I wanted to untangle gracefully. I wanted to detach and untangle in a way that I could hold my head up high and that my kids could look back at me one day and say, wow, Mom, you did that with so much grace. And the grace is the feeling that I was holding on to, not necessarily a specific how to get there, how am I going to do this, but just allowing that flow to come into my life and know what my goal is of how I want to show up and how I want to feel. So you don't have to manifest and have all the answers of next step. Okay, well, I want to start this business and I need to have this, and this, because I can tell you now it is also going to change. It is going to change over and over, and opportunities are going to come that you didn't even think about.
Right.
People look at me and they say, how are you doing? You're in South Africa, Kristen. How are you working with so many US and UK clients? I have South Africans say, but don't you have a South African clientele? I'm like, no, 70% of my following and my clients are in the US or in the UK or Australia or New Zealand. And that is an opportunity that Melissa and I aligned on a moment two and a half years ago, and an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. So don't box yourself in with what your future is. Have a feeling, have a vision of how you want to feel, show up, and the rest will fall into place.
Well, and
Trust.
I mean, I think a lot of this is the fact that you should not have an anticipation of what it looks like. You know, the more you stay in flow, just like with Harry Styles or anybody who's creative, when it leaves, it leaves and you stop. So if you're more flow in the morning, get up early so that you're creating those opportunities. If it's at night, you know, like stop caring about time and these constraints about this like world, because flow, and I remember I worked with this really amazing energetic person, and flow backwards, because of course I'm a numbers person and things, is wolf. And so it is how do you start to aggressively sort of understand that the flow is going to tell you when to stop and when to go, right? And so if you stay in flow and it's like, oh, this isn't working, like, why isn't this working in my divorce? Okay, let's go focus on something else. You know, not having a because again, a lot of manifestation is getting into the energy of creation, but not having a set vision of how it shows up. So when it shows up a bunch of different ways, you're like, huh, how could that be? You know, I interviewed a producer several years ago, and they came to me about a concept, a movie concept and a series concept about business and business valuations and family issues. And I was like, well, that's going to suck. I said, but here's a better idea. And I told them an idea, and they were involved with Shark Tank and Mr. Wonderful. What do you think they created? They created something that was entirely around the concept that I created, right? And everybody was like, well, aren't you aggravated? No, because it wasn't an idea for me. It was an idea that was just needed to be released, that I talked about. Like, it wasn't in my space. It was more in a lawyer space, and it was about prenups and things like that. But I was like, this is a better direction to take. Like, we have some opportunities that are going to emerge in the future that are going to be about how do we get these creations out there. So you just have to figure out how to create your own flow, because the energy is going to beget the other energy, not how it ends up. You know, like you're going to you envision it and then you let it go. And you stay in the energy of, like, you know, because I worked with somebody a long time ago, a business intuitive, and she said at the end of the year, and I think it's appropriate because we're at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, how would it feel if you ran your own business online and money came in every day, including the weekend, and when you were snowed in listening to your kids fight about dumb shit, right? And I'd be like, man, that would feel really good. Like, that would be amazing. How would it feel? So anytime you have an idea, how would it feel if that came true by the end of the year? Would that feel good? Like, how would it feel if you're still in the same house and you got all these things that you got to fix and you don't want to fix them? You're like, I don't think that feels too good. Okay. Well, then that may not be energetically aligned, you know? So it's starting to ask the question, like, if I did this, how would it feel in 5 years? How would it feel in what, like, 5 years, in my opinion, is too far down the road. Like, how would it feel this year? And that is part of where we need to be moving towards, is that you are going to get out of this divorce. If you are with us right now, we're going to get you out of the divorce. That is a no. Okay. So then what are you going to do? Right. And not a 9 to 5. Right. And I'm hoping my client on here is not on here because she's trying to get a 9 to 5. And I was like, F the 9 to 5, lady. Like, it's never been easier with AI. I was like, take an AI course, right? Take an video editing course. Take a whatever, a create landing pages. Take a Stan Store divorce course, right? These are all free. It's never been so much free education material out there than ever before. Figure out how, and it's not, you know, stupid feet pics or putting your body out there. You don't need to do anything that's not aligned with your core. You can literally do what is very aligned with your core which is what Anna's kind of giving out, and we're going to send that out. Anna's got some other tools that I think are helpful.
Yes. So I like to.
Kristen, you want to give one quick thing
Before
we go?
Anna finishes up, I wanted to say yes, as much as Melissa's saying this flow, and your flow is going to look different to everyone else's. I remember for years it was the first 2-3 years post-divorce, trying to start a business, beating myself up that I am not a 5 a.m. club girl. I never have been a 5 a.m. And all these books and everyone's like, if you're not 5 a.m., you're sleeping, early bird catches a worm, you're never going to be successful. I am a night owl and I am productive at night when my kids go to bed. My morning is slow. So as Melissa's saying, your flow feels natural. And we've spoken about this in the past. Emily can talk to us a lot more about this, but as women, our flow also looks different throughout a 28-day cycle, and every day is going to feel different. I notice a very clear difference on my ovulation and luteal phase and how productive and creative I am versus when I am on my cycle and on my period and how low energy. And those days I go to bed earlier, but not beating myself up about it, but tapping in internally as women. We are such a pro-woman space here, and we're not going to give you the, excuse my language, the bullshit ideologies that men say you have to work like this, as Melissa's saying, 9 to 5, that was structured for men, 5 a.m., get up, operate, if that is not how you work, find a way how you want to feel, what feels good, and that is where that abundance is it's going to be, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, there is hard work, but I've noticed a huge shift when I started shifting into, instead of trying to fit everyone else's mold and be tired and grumpy and wake up at 5, if I have a slow morning, I get my kids to school, I go to the gym, I come back, I have a smoothie, a hot shower, I am productive from that point on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wanted to add those 2 cents worth before Anna finishes up and wraps up for this wonderful session.
Yeah,
today.
and God forbid Anna gets to finish, because somebody did say, I want to incorporate tiny homes into my farm stay healing model. I already have an off-grid cabin with solar to start, horses, chickens, dogs. Girl, I'll have a retreat at your space. We can bring in abundance at anywhere. That's what I'm talking about. Like, if you stay in that idea of like, well, I don't have the money to get more tiny homes. Like, man, there's probably people that are trying to get rid of stuff. Like, they just want somebody to go get it. Like, go get that thing off of their land. Like, go figure out some of this stuff and stay in the abundant mindset of like, oh, I could create this whole healing center. It will happen regardless. Yeah. Facebook Marketplace. Like, people are like, oh, I got this cabin. Somebody come get it. Call your people. Like, we always got people that are willing to move stuff, right? So give them some.
Maybe we host a Divorce Allies farm stay. Maybe we say, hey, there's some women that love farm stays. Let's do a tropical Divorce Allies retreat. Let's do a farm stay Divorce Allies retreat with the moms that are boys. And let's get, like.
I mean, there's a guy that created, and he's a comic, but he does like, let's go handle my farm stuff today. And he's hilarious. Like, homesteading is the way right now. Like, if you show people how to be off grid, you could just have an online program of how to do it. And people like me would be like, I think the world might end. I need to get off the grid. I need to figure out something, plan B or something, right?
Truly.
But I still don't know how to make sourdough bread. So someone help me, or I still don't know how to.
Listen, that baby that you have to cultivate, I can't do it. I did that for years. I kept children alive for years. I'm done with it. Somebody wanted to give me one of those damn babies, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I can't.
Now, I will support people. Like, if somebody wants to make sourdough, and
I will buy your sourdough.
But there's people online that you can buy the mother or the, the starter sour, like everything. There is options. It is unlimited. You just have to allow it to come to you. I do it every night. Every night I listen to inspirational stuff in the bath or whatever. And I just allow, like, okay, give me different ways to look at things. Give me different ways to view this. Like, tell me whatever. And then they say things like anchor or future. And I was like, are you talking to, is this creative? Because I only just open up YouTube And whatever the first thing that is there, I click on it. I don't even search. I just click on it and I sit back, and then I'll be like, literally like, are you talking to me? Was this created for me? That's how flow happens.
Mhm.
That you're literally like, that's synchronicity. That's everything coming into play, but you stay in flow. And then whenever it's done, I'm like, okay, I'll journal and then I'm done, right? I go on to the next. I can literally go do something not brain wise because I stayed in the flow. And then when it's gone, I go to the next thing. I stay in the flow. I figure out, oh, you don't like last night, some TikTok stuff kept on messing up. And I was like, son of a Mr. Banana. And I was like, I got to work harder because it's broken something. And I was like, oh, universe, you're telling me to take a break? What? Like, because the universe has to tell me to take, like, it makes my computer stop, and I'll be like, you damn computer, I'll reset you, I'll restart. I restarted it. It still was like, somebody even said, was your Outlook? I was like, it was. I thought it was just me. No, it really was. Like, that's how powerful the universe was. It really messed up? No, it wasn't. I never had to do anything but pause and come back the next day, and it was perfectly fine. Right? But you have to listen to your body, listen to your intuition. Intuition is not the monkey brain rambling things. Intuition is very direct, very, one hit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna, I know you have stuff to talk
Yeah, no, and just to close out, I like to show different apps that I'm using because I am trial and erroring everything. We've already shown you Gemini, Nano Banana, and then I did a quick thing on ChatGPT. Those things probably you've heard of or at least tried yourself. So the first one is 11 Labs. So this one, it's free. You have a free like tokens. You can also buy more. This is for any type of AI generated voice. So if you're making any type of narration, maybe you want to make a podcast that's a fake voice. You have so many different voice options, or even like Kristen to make meditations. She could just enter all of the meditation in here, create AI meditations. This is the best AI voice platform that I've used. I know a lot of other ones. This one's clear. You can even like see how you can add in like sarcastically or giggles or whispers. I mean, that's just the one that they gave me. But this is great for voice. And then the other one is this one is a new one that I just found because when I create my videos for myself, I like to add some like text overlay, but I was really trying to figure out how to do my own handwriting. And so this app, I can now digitize and create a font out of my own handwriting. So this would be really cool if you're trying to do any other type of content creation, like videos, or if you just, endless amount of even just making like a downloadable packet or menu or retreat poster that includes your own handwriting if you have beautiful handwriting. I think this is great. It's also free to create like 70 characters. So I think that's enough for the alphabet. Yeah, those are my two apps. I like to always incorporate new ones I'm using. So I'll continue to do
somebody
that.
even said they've been using Gemini, Nano, Banana to doodle thoughts out of curiosity, and now y'all talking about it. Well, that means you probably need to stay doing it. Somebody said I've been busy making content. I need to manifest moving my projects along the cash flow. The only thing that I can say of that is keep at it. We've been doing this for years. I've been doing content creation since 2012. And, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, I just found you. Like, where have you been? And I was like, hustling every day, every day, every day. But eventually you also have to figure out, like, how do you speak that does elicit a response, right? It takes a while to do that. Somebody did say, talk about gray divorce. And unfortunately, we didn't quite get to that. All I can say in gray divorce, if we're talking about money, is that if you have been married for more than 10 years, you're going to get his Social Security. So that's a great thing. So that's going to be locked down a little bit, and we'll figure out how to split the money. We talk more online about gray divorce. I'll put together a longer video about some things. Before we break, if you want to, or before we end this, if you want to say like some of the things that you're concerned about in gray divorce, that would be great. We can incorporate that. Next week, we go back to every month we have a format. And so next week is still about mindset. I don't know, Kristen, if you have any ideas of what you're going to be covering next week or kind of some of the general theme. I cannot totally remember what next month's theme is, but I will get to it if Kristen has some ideas of what she's going to be talking about. And then we'll also be talking about the money, which comes in the second week. The second month is alignment. And so alignment is really getting a little bit further down the pipeline of kind of defining what you want, what you have, how to strategically kind of, we talk a lot about playing chess. And so it's really like creating a plan, but then just executing one at a time, one at a time. So I think like even alignment with custody and parenting plans, it's going to be like, what is your income, what's your expenses, things like that.
Yeah, we're going to cover those first phases of the mindset around co-parenting and getting your parenting plan done. So, yeah.
Yeah, and in the money, we're going to be talking about income, which is the second week. Income, alimony, property, position statement. We're going to start to, you've collected a lot of this data in the dark. How does it come into play? The gray divorce, people are concerned about future healthcare needs, future, we might even talk about like if your spouse is ex-military, there's a lot of healthcare plans that you need to get on now that could be very beneficial. Social Security, you either piggyback on your husband or your spouse, whatever makes the most. But they never know about it. And so again, look at some of our online Instagram and TikTok, and even on Facebook. We have a presence on Facebook. So any questions you have, please feel free to email us at thedivorceallies.com, hello@thedivorceallies.com. And you can get more again. thedivorcevault.com is where we have all of our downloads and our programs and things like that you can get started in. We try to send some of them out every week. So this week you got Anna's journal. We have a bunch of them. Emily's been working on a ton of guides in the background. Emily's Aunt Kristen has a new one that is about parenting plans that we're going to get loaded up. Anna has me and Anna actually already created a thought leadership blueprint that is available. I had considered putting it out this week, but maybe we'll get it out next week because it'll be more relevant to kind of piggyback on some of the things that we've talked about. And, we try to send out a guide every week that is for our members. And if you want to hop up to the VIP package, you get an hour with one of us every month. You can do the VIP for 1 month. If you need to talk to Kristen, Anna, Emily, or me, and you just need an hour to like level set, hop up for the 1 month. It's cheaper than working with paying any of us our hourly rate. Mm-hmm. And you can get kind of some guidance in that capacity or a plan. So there's lots of ways to work with us. We appreciate you joining. If you are on YouTube, you can put some of your questions. I did notice on our YouTube, we have a lot of questions that we have not answered, but we are getting on it. We are trying to be everywhere at once. And, so again, that's why you create systems so that they all work. And at the beginning, not all of them work all the time, but that's okay. It's a learning curve. So we're right there with you in creating and learning as we go. So we bring you along. We don't know everything. We don't have it all figured out, but we do try to be the example of how to do it with our website, our stand store, our downloads, and ways to work with us. So if you have any questions, everybody is always available to reach out directly to them. So we appreciate you. We'll be back next week with some fun parenting. Alignment is next month. So you've built it. Now, how do we get more strategically aligned? And we always talk about money in all of the sessions. So if you have money questions, just ask them. and we will talk about it. But we also want you to be introduced to other things that move the needle just as equally, if not more, even if they seem like, oh, manifestation. Manifest that they give you everything that you want. Now, what do you want? Okay. You can't manifest if you're not clear on what you want or need. So I'll kind of exit at that point, and we'll see you next week.